Back to Straight Facts. I'm joined as ever on Wednesday by a man like Sava. How are you, mate? You well? You good?
Very good today. Very good. Thank you. Enjoying life. You?
Well, I'm all right. Football, life, good. Life's good. Football, meh. is a little bit meh, as it were. But you're flying high right now. Still top of the league, still winning games. And, of course, Haaland scored a brace at the weekend to prove you right in the argument against Sam. You must be buzzing.
I'm not buzzing for that. I did message him, and I was just like, listen, as I said, too many people just belittle what's good. So look, I thought it was a good game in the end. I thought, well, clearly not from your point of view, but Man City sort of turned into the old Man City, especially in the second half. And if they keep playing like that, that's going to be a real worry for the rest of the league. They looked very, very good. But not the same can be said about your team, right? It's a real struggle at the moment, right? Being a United fan.
It's horrible being a Man United fan, right? It's horrible because everything that I knew would eventually happen with Ten Hag has happened. It's come quicker than I expected, that the wheels falling off. A large part of it, in terms of the way we're playing, is down to him not implementing, what he's famed for, not coaching us in the right way, putting players in the wrong positions. He needs to be heavily criticised for that. You then still look at the way we're run. How can you employ someone who, someone made a great super chat the other day. That's imagine someone's a famous, amazing sort of a pastry chef, and you employ them into your restaurant to make your pastry, but when they turn up, all they want to do is make cocktails and they're awful at it. That's how I feel with Ten Hag, and it's painful to see the fan bases at each other's throats. You can't. I'm trying now on socials with Mike Love United Hate Glazers to have a conversation, and it's like talking to a brick wall sometimes, because I feel like there's a young player called Kobe Mainoo that's about to come through. He is going to become the next target of hate from a sector of Manchester United fans because they view any academy player as a Glazer money-saving exercise, which I understand. It definitely can be used for that. But their view is even if he's good enough, that we could still buy better out there in the market potentially. Therefore, I don't support it, which I find an interesting concept as we were talking about backstage, because when Gary Neville came through in the Man United team in the mid-90s, there were probably better right-backs in the world then than him. When Beckham came through, there were definitely better right midfielders in the world than him back. In fact, every academy player in the world that comes through at any club, typically when they're 16, 17, 18, 19, there are better players in the world by them. And if everybody adopts that attitude of don't promote youth because there's better available in the world and it's a money-saving exercise, there would be no football players in 20 years' time because nobody would get developed. So I understand it when you look at it from a micro area. But yeah, as I say, the Man United fan base is an absolute bitch right now. The manager, in my opinion, is at the end of the road. You've got the players leaking stuff about him now. They're not happy with how he plays. The recruitment team don't like who he's buying. He's had the kiss of death from the Glazers twice now in 6 weeks. That he's got full back in. And we always know when people say they've got full back in, what's coming. So, yeah, it's a horrible, horrible time to be a Man United fan. It really is.
Yeah, look, you've got to sort it out. I mean, it's been like this for years, though, right? I think every now and then you got a good run and it kind of overshadows the deeper impacts of a football club. But this, as we've said many times, there's just something not right. It doesn't look like you bought the right players. It doesn't look like your manager's actually trying to implement anything. Listen, every now and then you win a game and it goes away for a week or so, and then you lose a game and it comes back. But this is certainly not the Man United I know. Or the Man United when I was growing up at all. So, things need to change. I mean, you've got a chance to start putting that in the right direction tonight, I suppose. But, it was frightening how I thought City didn't get out of second gear. And let's be honest, they won that game very, very easily. And I think you guys were quite lucky that it wasn't 5, 6 or 7. So, look, that's got to be worrying. Your fans are all arguing amongst each other. Normally when fan bases are doing that, it means something's not going well. And I don't know how you solve this with these owners, with this manager in place. I think the whole thing needs to be ripped apart and started again. But I'm not just talking about a manager, the whole thing, the whole structure and dynamic of your football club, because this is
Of
not Man
course.
United.
Of course, and I just want to say this now on camera when it comes to the Mike LUHG thing. He's more than welcome to come on the terrace and talk to us and have a conversation. There's no hatred here. But this is where I know that the whole thing needs to be sorted, because this is a small element of the problems we have as a fan base. But he says here that I'm anti anything that saves the Glazers money. Can United with 648 million turnover buy a safer bet for what you are describing than throwing in a totally unproven academy player? I feel like that's loaded. Of course, there are better players out there right now than Kobbie Mainoo, but we already have Amrabats and Casemiros at the football club who you would put well above him. So we've already bought that. I think there is a place to develop individuals. If the Glazers sold tomorrow and the Qataris came in my personal opinion, we would still be promoting academy players into our first team. So I don't think that having this carpet view of everything the club does should be condemned because the Glazers do it. Developing young players isn't, you shouldn't just condemn it. Where you should is if there's an academy player who's been in the team 2 or 3 years, hasn't developed, isn't going to the next level, is there someone better you can bring in through the academy or buy to replace him? Yes. But I do think when a young academy player shows great promise and great potential, they should be given a chance and an opportunity. Where I agree with these guys are angry about this Kobbie Mainoo situation is there's too much pressure being put on him. There is this notion of he's going to come in and transform our team and make us one of the best teams in the country. That is a ridiculous amount of pressure. I want to see him given an opportunity. I want to see him play. I want to see how good he is, because if you actually have a player who has the ability to be an 80, 90, 100 million pound player in your academy over the next few years, I would rather not spend the money on another midfielder and let him develop, but then reinvest that money on somebody else. And this is the problem the Man United fan base have. Everything is so polarized. There is a conversation to be had if we stop being so rude to each other. And I know I'm guilty of that sometimes. It isn't this carpet ban on don't promote anybody from the academy because it saves the Glazers money is wrong, because you could miss out on great talent. But this idea that we shouldn't replace academy talent with better individuals at some stage is also ridiculous. And this is what you see it right now. Sack the manager. No, it's all the Glazers' fault. The Glazers run the club and have done a terrible job. That doesn't excuse Ten Hag from the poor mistakes that he's making. But equally, don't think by just getting rid of Ten Hag, the club is going to be fixed, because we're still being run poorly. Man United fans are a huge problem at this club, and both sets hate me. The positive ones hate me, the negative ones hate me. And that tells me I'm doing something right. Because this idea that it's nothing's on the Glazers, or this idea that nothing's on the players and the manager, is absolutely horrendous. And that all it does, by the way, all that energy does is help the Glazers keep the club for longer. It really does, because the fans are too busy fighting with each other rather than having constructive conversations. So, yeah, it's a horrible, horrible time to be a Man United player. And
two things can be right at once, right? Like from what you said there, two things can be right at once. Look, for me, Ten Hag's a very poor manager. Listen, I thought what he did at Ajax was good. At the time, I remember people saying, yeah, but it's easy to be good at Ajax because of what they've always been, for the academy they bring through. There's just the way they play. And was like, okay, cool. Let's see what happens at Man United. Unfortunately, he's not doing well. Now, him not doing well is a separate scenario to, is the club run well? Now, they may all be interlinked, but that shouldn't excuse his poor performance as a manager because the club isn't being run well. This is why I think a lot of Man United fans that I was speaking to were very hopeful of a complete takeover from the Sheikh, where it was, right, I own the club completely. I can rip it apart, from top to bottom, and implement a new manager with a new director of football, with a new academy, all at the same time. Now, that's dream world, right? That's what people would like to happen. Will that happen? It's not looking likely. But something's got to give, because, you've got too good of players to be playing the dross you're seeing. And it is. There's nothing to the way you're playing. When you win games, it feels to me like you're winning games because you've got bigger guns. I was always taught when I was younger, big guns. Teams have big guns. Like we had Kane and Son for years. They were our big guns. The rest of the players, you go, whatever. United have bigger guns than most of the teams they play. But when you're coming up against the better teams, you're being found out massively. And look, the difficulty when you look at the Kobe Mainu thing, I don't know a lot about him, so I can't talk about whether he's good enough, whether he's not, whether he should be playing. I don't know. But it is difficult when you bring in young players. Ideally, again, the world's not ideal, but ideally, you want to be bringing in those young players into what is a settled team. You know, when Man City bring in young players, when Chelsea did for years, they were settled. Not now Chelsea, but there were settled teams where you could bring through an academy player, and it was like they can bring in Rico Lewis, and Rico Lewis is playing alongside, you know, John Stones, Ruben Diaz, Rodri, De Bruyne, Haaland. That's fine. When you're bringing young players into what is a kind of fragmented football team and a team that has got no confidence, no belief, are you doing more harm than good to that young player by chucking him in and going, go on, son, get in there? Or is it a ray of light? And that's the difference. Some people will come through on that. Other people will get caught up in that, and you can potentially damage them. So it's a real difficult issue, the bringing through youth players, no matter how good they are, because
yeah. No, but I totally
tough.
agree. I totally agree. And like he's come back here with another comment, and again, this makes sense. He says the metric isn't this fantasy of how good he might be. The metric is what he is now, a totally unproven player that barely played in the first team football. Can Man United sign better than him? Obviously, yes. So, but this is the issue here, and this is when you tweet, it's hard. And I know you're going to see this, Mike, because you've clipped my stuff up before. I'm not stating that if he comes into this team, we're going to transform into the best midfield in the country. I'm not putting that ridiculous pressure on him. So I agree with you when it comes to the accounts that are like, this kid is going to change us. Me and you are in agreement there. However, I don't think we should cut our nose off to spite our face. We should be developing this young talent and purchasing top-class players at the same time. It should coexist. But just because the Glazers will cut corners and not always buy the level of quality we need, it doesn't mean we should stop developing youngsters, because then you're cutting off two sources of quality that could potentially come into your team. I understand why you say what you say, but again, this is where there is this middle ground for me. And I agree. Anyone who thinks Mainu's coming in and we are going to be Baller FC, playing like peak Barcelona, total football, you're deluding yourself. And what will happen to Kobe, even if he's good enough, is the toxicity at this club, the pressure from the fans, the way we run, with or without this manager, will break him. Why am I sure of that? Every single player that's come through the academy and every purchase we've made in the last 10 years has regressed. Even if they've had a spike or an improvement of points, at some stage they regress. So for me, that's why when people go, it's all on Ten Hag, it's like, well, no, you're wrong. In terms of tonight, do you think this could be Ten Hag's last game? Do you think this could, if we were to get beat defending the holders of the Carabao Cup, if we were to get beat at home to Newcastle, do you think that could push his tenure at United over the edge?
I think with these things, it's always how you get beat. Yeah. I mean, we've all seen it at our own clubs. We all remember those days when the manager was sacked. I remember when Spurs sacked, God, I want to say AVB, and it was like a 4 or 5-0 at home to Liverpool. And you go, oh God, you know, there's no coming back from that. You know, you've been absolutely hammered at home. You're going to go. I think, if it's a 3-2 close game and United have been in it type thing and you lose, no. But I think if you're going to lose at home 3-0 convincingly and Newcastle have been under no pressure, could it be? Yes. I just think it's double-edged sword. I don't know how I feel about Man U at the moment, because it's a double-edged sword for you guys. If you get rid of Ten Hag, which I think, let's be fair, most managers at a massive club at Man United doing what he's doing should be sacked. Yeah, managers have been sacked for far less, right, at bigger clubs. You sack him, it just ensures that your club is in the media again for the next 3-4 weeks. Then you're going to have all your fans are going to be in this great big battle about who should be your next manager. Yeah, why is this manager right? Why are they not? Then you're going to start hearing names like Conte. Yeah, and you're going to start seeing things like that going around. I don't know. I don't know where you go from here. I think you're at rock bottom. I think you're at rock bottom as a football club. And if I'll be honest, last thing I'll say is, if I'm Eddie Howe going into that changing room tonight, what am I saying to my team? I'm saying these are a mess. Go at them. Go first 10 minutes. Go at them. Get that Old Trafford crowd. Get them booing. Get them upset. Get them annoyed. Right. And I think it could be. But again, does that mean if he wins the game, what he sticks around for another couple of months? It's a tough one.
But this is it. There was a comment that came through a minute ago that I highlighted, and it said, Terry, let the full squad get back and play to the end of the season before people start going in hard on Ten Hag. My view is this, though, mate. It's based on what he said. It's based on the team he picked on Sunday, the substitutions he made, which have been happening all year, and then what he says, we're never going to... And look, again, people try and misphrase this and twist it, and it's weird. The rivals are trying to defend him here because they want him to stay. I don't expect us to be like Ajax, but the blueprint of how they played football is what I think we need. We need a team. I'll stop saying Ajax style of football because it triggers people. We don't move the ball quick enough. There is not enough movement off the ball from our players. We have terrible shape in and out of possession. The fact that the manager has said we're never going to improve on that in terms of it's not going to become how we want it to, what we saw him do at other clubs, I'm done with him. Because for me, playing pragmatically how he is, he's failing. And if he thinks that suddenly it's going to click into gear, I think he's wrong. I genuinely think that he is wrong. And I'm taking him on his word here. I'm taking him on his word. So that's why I'm judging it.
What does he think then? That there's going to be one game, suddenly you turn up and everyone goes, wow, look at Man U. They've clicked overnight.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
The messaging coming out from him, Terry, is all wrong. If that was my manager, we've had that. We've had that with Conte.
He's got it wrong. So I look at it this way. Mate, right. He's got it wrong. He has gone for an approach that hasn't worked. The saddening part is that we don't have a sporting director. We don't have people helping to run our club that have challenged us and said, no, that isn't going to work. You're buying players that suit the style of play that we hired you to want and the fans want, but then you're trying to do something different. It's an absolute mess. So that's why I think it's come to the end of the road. I don't think there is going to be significant long-term improvement. It's as simple and straightforward as that for me. Terry, your talent ID is mudded, Yanar. First of all, Maradon, you don't say Yanar where you're from. And because we know you're a posh little lad sitting at home at his mum's house. But when you say my talent ID is bad, you're a Liverpool fan. So before you guys signed him, I said Darwin Núñez has got serious talent. I'm someone that thinks Mo Salah is one of the greatest players to play in the Premier League. Soboslai and Gravenberch, I told you all that there would be sensational signings for your club. So if you're willing to admit as a Liverpool fan that my talent ID is terrible and those players are crap, then that's up to you, my friend. Yeah. Bruno is an amazing talent. We need Bruno to start every game. That isn't what I said, but nice lie, my friend. Bruno, by the way, I kind of want Bruno to leave and go to another club. He'll start to deliver again, and then there'll be a revision about how good he is. But there we go. If the other problems weren't there, Ten Hag has to go. With them, I'm not really sure sacking him helps the situation. Well, Trouble Studio, you're right there in the medium to long term. Again, I saw a video. I don't know who the person was, and he was basically saying how fans blaming the Glazers are wrong. It's all on the manager. And I just watched him say it, and he was convincing. He was compelling. He was well articulated, very passionate, and I could understand people going, "Yeah, you're right." But this super chat here is spot on. Sacking Ten Hag alone and making no other internal changes that will give us systemic change, it won't fix us. You might be able to get a tune out of a Conte or a Simeone for a year or two and win something, but there'll be no long-term success and competitiveness if things don't change. We've got proof of that. Great to see Sav back on the terrace, top bloke. Terry, could you please change your Twitter picture? When I scroll down quickly, I think I'm following James Maddison as your profile picture looks like him. No, that profile picture is the shape I'm going to get back into, and it's my motivation every day to get my face looking that slim again. So it's not coming off my profile picture. It's boxers, they stick a picture up of the guy they're fighting as motivation. It's kind of my thing, but with my own face. We need this team gutted and better leadership from the top down. There is no structure at this club, and this trickles down. You're absolutely right, Tony. You'll get called a simp for the manager and you're defending him. You're not. You're absolutely spot on, and don't let anybody convince you otherwise, because there's no proof that you are wrong. There's only proof that you are right. Terry, can you guarantee success after the Glazers? No, that would be an impossible thing to guarantee. But in my personal opinion, if the Glazers left, new owners come in and cleared the debt, improve the stadium, improve the training facilities, hired the best in class to run the football operation, and invested every penny the club has in creating the best team in the world. And that's not just signing players, it's signing the right players. If the first team play the same football as the female first team, the under 18s first team, right down to the under 8s first team, and there is a collective approach and everybody pulls in the right direction, I believe Man United will win major trophies again. So, and why do I believe that? It's because it's the same model that all the successful clubs in the world use. So again, I'm not a genius. I'm not claiming to know more than anybody else. I'm just looking at what all the successful teams do and saying, well, to a degree, let's do something similar. And if they're all winning doing it, we can. We're the only club that operates with our level of income the way we do. And we're the only one not challenging and going anywhere near the major trophies or moving upwards. All well-run clubs garnish success, pound for pound success, of course. Bournemouth will never get the same type of success that City get. They don't earn enough money to. But with the level of our income, I think we would win something. Abso-friggin-lutely. Let's have a little look here. This is big up Sava and Terry. If Spurs finish above Liverpool, can we please have Sava and that deluded 2003 fan Hassam on the same stream? I'm sure they'll stream again together as well. Actually,
so far. But by the way, I haven't got the comments on today, so I'm not seeing anything. So when this comes up, this is good for me. And listen, I was told I was in the wrong the other day massively by so many people about Haaland. And then like 48 hours later, he went and scored 2, got an assist at Old Trafford, didn't he?
Which we knew was going to come. Every season, every decision Ten Hag takes makes us backwards, but I still give him time because these players are leopards who do not want to work. I think it's a fair point. There. The problem is though, it's not even against getting rid of Ten Hag isn't even about is he good enough or not per se. If you know the Glazers aren't going to make the players work hard and they're always going to take the players' side, it's just nonsensical to keep him. Because at the very least, sometimes you just got to make the best out of the situation that you're in. We also know that fans aren't going to force the owners out by boycotting. So we're stuck in this sort of world of what I want to happen and the reality. The reality is we've probably just got to change managers every 18 months to 2 years, have a little spike of improvement, and then go back here again. Because we're on a hamster wheel. And until something's done by the fans to knock us off that hamster wheel, to start a new line in our future, nothing's going to change. So again, there's what I want, and there's what's going to happen. And nothing's going to happen. Sava is looking good for 21 again. I want to say, by the way, a happy birthday to Sava today. It is his birthday. So everyone give him, I wanted to wait till the audience was all here. Give him a happy birthday, please, and a thumbs up. And make sure like buttons are being smashed as well. Was it 33, 34 today?
I'll take it.
There we go. Top man. Safe here says, I am not being gay. Fucking hell. But Sava is the hottest man on YouTube.
Can I take a picture of that?
I mean, he's very handsome. I want to ask Sava, are you interested in having a date with me?
Wow, that's certainly very interesting.
Oh my God. Just to let you know who this safe guy is. This safe guy used to turn up at my work. He used to be my stalker.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'll ask the wife if we're allowed to see other people. We'll see what she says.
Safe is like he's really small and skinny. He looks a bit like when you see his body shape and everything, he's a little bit like what's his name? Dobby from Harry Potter. He's a little bit like Dobby. Do you know what I mean? So tell your wife she should not feel threatened. You can't say nothing is going to change. Sorry. You can't say nothing's going to change with the Glazers here and blame them, whilst at the same time you gas up a new manager like you did with Ten Hag. Well, go back and look at what it is that I said. What I would admit I got wrong is I thought we'd have a better style of football because I believe a better footballing coach can make us play better football. But what I said, Johnny Sins, and I do know who Johnny Sins is that there will be no medium to long-term continuous success, no matter how good the coach is at making us play football because of the Glazers. So nothing I said. The only thing I've got wrong is that we haven't played better football. But we now know why we haven't played better football. The manager isn't trying to implement it. So for me, there's no point of having him. You could bring Diego Simeone in. You could bring Pep in. and we've only improved to a certain level. The Glazers and the way we're run will stop us getting to our optimum best based on how much money we have and what we spend. How do I know that? 6 fouled managers on the bounce. So again, until you can disprove that, don't twist what I've said. I've always said that. And we could bring in any new manager, and I might be excited about the style of football they'll bring. Oh, I'm interested to see what he does. But I do not believe we can get back to medium to long-term sustained success until they are gone. You can't catch me out on that because I haven't changed that message now for 10 straight years. But there we go. Please hit like buttons, people. Please make sure you are smashing the like button for us as well. Lots of happy birthdays in the comments from Man Light Sav as well. Do you think Fergie would have had a fraction of these players? None. Yeah, I mean, no, he wouldn't. But Fergie run the club better. We don't have anyone running the club as well as Fergie was running the club. So again, it's because we're not running the club well. You're right. Fergie run the club properly along with David Gill, even when we had the Glazers there. This is from Kate. It says, happy 50th birthday, Sav. Big up, Terry. That's from Kate, the Spurs fan who comes on here and just ruins people. Terry, there's 19 foul managers every season context. Oh, that's nonsense. 19 managers don't foul every year. I understand that if you look at it all as, well, 19 of them don't win the Premier League. But if Luton were to stay in the Premier League this year, that would be success for a club of their size, stature, and income. And so far, no one has given me a good enough reason as to why they should be able to beat Man City to the title. But based on what, it's a crazy notion. So that isn't true in any way, shape, or form. There we go. Sava's face has given me life to that, is what Kate says as well. Roms here says Twister must be Lee Gunner's burner account. Yeah, Twister just likes to say controversial things, but I like it. It's all good. This super chat's interesting, right? It says, why am I nervous for Arsenal West Ham? I've got a take on this. I want to get your opinion. I believe tonight for West Ham and Chelsea is absolutely must win. They must win and they must go through to the next round of the Carabao Cup.
Arsenal and Chelsea.
Arsenal and Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea have got Blackburn, so it should be a foregone conclusion. Arsenal have a harder game. They play West Ham. But I believe it's must win for both of them because, especially for Arsenal, the pursuit of trophies is needed. Winning the Premier, winning the Champions League is hard. And with Man City being out of this tournament, and with Man United or Newcastle both definitely going out tonight, this is open for any other member of that top six to go and pick themselves up a trophy. And I think Arsenal and Chelsea should take this massively seriously. And I think it's must win for them tonight.
Look, more so Arsenal. Definitely more so Arsenal than Chelsea. I think Chelsea, we all know what's going on at Chelsea. And they need time to sort themselves out. Arsenal are not in that period. Arsenal are not in a time where they need to sort themselves out. Arsenal are a team now, second last year. They're now, what are they, second or third in the league right now, a couple of points off the top, not lost a game. But more than anything, at what point does the pressure really have to go onto Arteta, Terry? Because has he done a good job? Yeah, he's done a good job. But at what point does doing a good job become enough? Right? The pressure on Guardiola every year is you have to win the title. The pressure on Jose when he was here, you had to win a title. You had to win cups. You had to win trophies. Same with Sir Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger. The pressure was huge. This guy won, what did he do? He won the FA Cup, but with somebody else's squad. Fair enough. I'm not knocking that. That's great. He won the FA Cup. But now you've had, 650, 700 million in 4 or 5 years with your own team. Finishing second and being in a title race isn't enough. So if you're not going to win the league, if City win the league and they're not going to win that, you've got to be adding silverware elsewhere. And that for me means there's no excuses. Look, we know what football's like. If Arsenal go out tonight, it's bigger fish to fry and that whole remember all of that last year. Bigger fish to fry. If Arsenal win it, it's we're taking it seriously this year. So for me, I think this is a competition that look, Arsenal, who's left in it? City have gone. Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, Chelsea. I mean, these teams should all be looking and thinking, hang on, we've got a chance here. But definitely Arsenal surely are the favourites. them and Liverpool have to be considered as the favourites for this trophy. So you've got to go for it, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, I think if Arsenal don't win another trophy, how long does he get?
But I totally agree. Look, everyone knows the arc of Arsenal and the improvements they've made to their team to become title challengers has been very just interesting to watch, because never before have I seen a manager. I don't remember those early years of Fergie, like 84, 85, 86, because I was 1 and 2 years old. I don't remember the last time, and maybe the viewers can give us a comment of when someone has struggled in their first 2.5, 3 years to the level that Arteta did. I know he won an FA Cup straight away, but coming 8th and 5th. I know Klopp didn't win straight away, but the football looked good. They got the final straight away, and they were always a decent team in that time. The way Arteta has turned it round has earned him put a fair amount of credit in the bank. They've become an excellent football team, hard to beat. They're in the title. They will be in the title race again this year. But at the end of the day, and this is where the Arsenal fans that say I'm unbiased and that like me may change their opinion, but I'm going to keep the same energy I have for all clubs. At the stage they're at with the money they've spent, winning trophies is key. Now, you could say, now, what would you prefer, to win the Champions League or the League Cup? You'd pick the Champions League. But the options are never like that. You're in all the competitions now, and you've got to try and win them all. West Ham are a tough team, but you knock them out and you're taking a tough team out. Man United and Newcastle are going out tonight. City are already out. They're a better team, in my opinion, than Chelsea. Them and Liverpool, on any given day, they can both beat each other. You might get a home draw next against Liverpool, knock them out, and then you're the clear outright favourites, and it's a trophy. And if he starts picking up trophies, it gives him more time. And if you are an Arteta supporter, you should be demanding the trophies, because then you get to keep him. If he doesn't win trophies, your club has to at some point move him on. Because at the end of the day, when you're one of the top 6, winning trophy. And I had this conversation with Jordan in the group chat yesterday, who made a point around like winning trophies doesn't necessarily improve a manager's credentials, and for me, it does. At the end of the day, no matter how good Postecoglou looks right now, no matter how good Arteta looks right now, at the end of the day, if there's no trophies at the end of this, a lot of it has been for nothing. Yes, they might leave a good squad in a good position for the next manager, and there's some credit to go to that. But you are judged as a manager when you're at the big clubs by what you win. So they are must-win games to me. Poch's situation is different, which we'll move on to. But for Arsenal, it is a huge must-win game, in my personal opinion. They have to win this, and they have to try and win every tournament they're in.
Look, I just think I find football fans and pundits very, very funny. I find the whole thing quite funny. You've got fans that will want to tell you that their club are the best club in the world. Their players are the best players in the world. Their manager's the best manager, right? But then when you suggest that their team should win trophies, my Arsenal mates crack me up. They're like, oh my God, Saka's world class. Cool. Oh, Declan Rice, best midfielder in the Premier League. Cool. Saliba, best centre-half in the Premier League. Cool. Martinelli's brilliant, right? Jesus is great. Sure. Okay, so Arteta's got to win a trophy. Well, whoa. No, hang on. You're telling everyone how great you are. This isn't just Arsenal, by the way. This is all the big clubs. Yeah, this is all the big clubs. You can't go around telling everyone how great your players are, how great your manager is, what a great job anyone's done. If you're at a big club, that has to be backed up with trophies. Yeah? There's big clubs. If you look at the big clubs in this country, Man Utd, yeah? Liverpool, Arsenal, massive football clubs have to be winning trophies. Now, are you going to win trophies every season? No, of course you're not. Unless you are in a period of dominance, right? Unless you are a period of dominance like Man City are in, where they're going to win trophies every year in one way or another, like when Man United did it and when Arsenal did it. But at some point, you've got to be judged on that. Otherwise, what are we judging against? Mm-hmm. If you're at the big clubs, players are judged on delivering, managers are judged on delivering, and that's whether that's Liverpool, whether that's Arsenal, whether that's AC Milan, whether that's Bayern Munich, whether that's Ajax right now. Look at the mess Ajax are in. You're going to be judged. Big clubs are big clubs for a reason. You've got to win. You've got to win trophies. And did Arteta have to in the first couple of years? No, I don't think so, because he was building and they were going on a process. But you're now, 4 years deep? I think you've got to start. If you're not going to win them, you've got to challenge for it, Terry. You've got to at least be getting to finals. And
do you know what's interesting for me, mate? I was looking yesterday, and I got sent loads of links during the show. I didn't research it, but I spent a bit of time yesterday evening looking at the criteria to win the Ballon d'Or for individual players. For individuals, the second most important factor they look at, so they don't look at ability at all, actually. A lot of people yesterday were saying they did. Those articles weren't right. Individual performance in the previous season. So that's how well you played in games, clutch moments, carrying your team. The second most important thing for individuals is team success, winning trophies. So if it's about team success for individuals, how are we not judging managers and teams on the trophies they win? So to win the Ballon d'Or, and to be considered the best player in the world, you've got to have won trophies. So for your team to be considered a success, and I'm not talking about Brighton's, Bournemouth's, Leyton Orient's, Plymouth Argyle's, who have a fraction of the income. I'm talking about all our clubs. And I put Spurs in that category as well, by the way, who turn over now more money than Arsenal. We are all judged in the medium term, especially on the trophies that we win. And I think with Arteta now, and I said it in the summer, he has to now start picking up those trophies on a more regular basis because they are Arsenal Football Club. They are huge. They are gigantic. They are massive. And it's okay playing nice football. It's okay being in title races. Those things are important. But I then think that if you're in title races in the Prem, then you're good enough to win every other tournament that you're in. And the expectation should be for you to go out there and at the very least try. And I'm not saying they have to win this tournament. It's a disgrace if they don't. But they've got West Ham tonight. They're superior to them. When City go out of any tournament, it opens it up for everyone.
I agree.
Because they are generally better than everybody. So once they're out, everybody's chances improve, and they should be trying to win it as far as I'm concerned. There's a super chat here, though. That's from Daniel. That's a Chelsea fan who says, don't compare us with Arsenal. Arsenal must win it. They or Liverpool must. Chelsea can, but no pressure as long as the results improve in the league. So I also think, though, it's a must-win game for you tonight. You're playing Blackburn. Yes, there's other teams that are ahead of you in the pecking order in terms of favourites to win it because they're looked at as better than you. But do you know what would help Pochettino keep more Chelsea fans on his side? What would help get the media off his back is winning a trophy in England. So I'm not saying throw baby out with the bathwater if you don't win the tournament, but you're at home against Blackburn.
Oh, they've got to win tonight.
It's a massively important game, Daniel. You're playing Blackburn at home. Sure. Have to.
Listen, look, I think it's a difficult one, right? As I said, big clubs are big clubs. It's why... It's like, look, Spurs have failed for year after year. We're not as big as those clubs that I mentioned, but even we failed. No trophy in 16 years is failure. How long do you give a manager before you say they failed? Like I think Arteta's done a good job to get Arsenal back into conversations. Yeah, I think for a long time Arsenal was sort of teetering in and around, 5th to 8th, that sort of area. They're now one of the top 2-3 teams in the country. That's brilliant. That's great. I also accept that it's going to be very difficult for anybody to take that mantle from Man City. That's what they're challenged with. That's what Klopp is faced with every year, right? That is what Arteta is faced with. But you've got to. That's why the money's spent. Arsenal just spent a lot of money. I think their fans want to win a trophy. Surely their fans want to win trophies as well, right? So at what point do you say, if they don't win, that, okay, Arteta's had long enough, now it needs to go to someone with more experience? Because we've got to remember, this isn't an experienced manager. Arteta is not an experienced manager, Terry.
No, I agree. I think that you can't put all fans into the same box. However, what I would say is this. There are some Arsenal fans, and I think these sections of fan bases are prevalent at each of our clubs, who want the praise for their individual players being brilliant, want the praise for the style of football, want the manager to be lauded, want the club to be looked at as gigantic, but they do not want the overarching pressure of now deliver trophies. Because if you fail in delivering those trophies, then the question marks over the quality of your team, manager, and players comes into question. Because I'll stand by it. Every award that's ever been given out to any player in any team, and I learned this, I knew this anyway, but I researched it a lot last night, that's ever been awarded is based on winning things, which is why when I said to you, about Harry Kane, on ability, one of the best the Premier League's had, on greatness, which in my head, maybe we can change the wording, which I equate to what you have won alongside your ability, he ain't there yet because he hasn't won those trophies. But when it comes to teams and the manager, it's even more clean cut for me because you're not talking about an individual at a team. You're talking about them as a collective. So I think there are some Arsenal fans that don't demand trophies or don't like that being there because it might murky the waters regarding the way they think or talk about their club. Because at the end of the day, if Spurs play better football than Chelsea for the next 5 years, but Chelsea win 2 league titles and 3 FA Cups and Spurs win nothing, Spurs playing better football doesn't make them a better football team. But there is a percentage of football fans nowadays at all our clubs that believe that as long as your football's pretty, you're one of the best football teams, and you're not. It is about, at the end of the day, winning trophies.
You get a shelf life. So you get a shelf life. So, for example, Pochettino going into Chelsea this year, you get a shelf life. The club's a mess. You need to sort it out, implement something, go. Next year, he's not got that, right? Postecoglou at Tottenham picked us up when we're an absolute mess. We're an absolute shambolic mess. He's not under pressure this year to win a trophy. Next year, people are going to get onto him. Cool, this is now your squad. You've been here a year. You've implemented your style of play, win a trophy. Arteta's been there 4 years. Klopp's under pressure every year. Klopp wins trophies most years, right? Which is why he's there. I don't know off the top of my head. I've not got the information in front of me. He's been there 8 years. Jurgen Klopp, 7, 8 years now.
Yeah, he's won. I want to say he's won. I don't know about Community Shields. He's won 4 trophies, I think, in the time that he's been there.
Right, so he's won the Champions League, the league. That was 2 different seasons.
Yeah, he's won the Champions League and the league.
He's won the
League Cup.
The League Cup.
He's won. He's won the Super Cup and the World Cup as well. So total trophies, he's won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's won 7 trophies in 8 years.
So, I mean, if you're winning 7 trophies in 8 years, no one can look at that and go, didn't deliver. Problem is, and the thing is, I always find it difficult because when I talk about Arsenal, it sounds salty because I'm a Spurs fan. I say it of my own club. Yeah, Pochettino, when Pochettino was at Tottenham, everyone wanted the praise, right? Everyone wanted, oh my God, how good are we to watch? Aren't we the best team in the country to watch? Our football's brilliant. I was one of the fans going, he's been here 5, 6 years. You've got to win. Like, stop getting to the finals. Stop getting to semis. At what point do you go, right, this is now, everything here is my team. I've got to get them over the line. So ultimately, that's why when people were screaming and fighting for Pochettino to come back in the summer, at the end of the day, I didn't want him back because the guy had 6 years. He had multiple finals, semi-finals. He didn't get over the line. And you say, okay, cool. Thank you. We'll get someone else in. So at the end of the day, it's all clubs. It's not just rivals. It's the same as Man United. At the moment, Ten Hag would have been gone ages ago if he hadn't have picked up the trophy last year. Yeah? Trophies give you credit in the bank. They do. Unfortunately, they do. You're right. Harry Kane had to leave Spurs because we don't win anything. Harry Kane had to leave Spurs so that he can go and win the Bundesliga, try and challenge for the I don't think they'll win it, but try and challenge for the Champions League, try and win the German Cup, because you are going to be remembered for winning things ultimately at the end of the day. And that's players, managers, owners. Look at the Spurs owners. Look at the stick they get. 1 League Cup in 23 years, Terry. That's
do you know what's crazy about, and do you know what it comes down to as well? Like, I was talking to a Spurs friend of mine the other day, good mate, growing up with him, and we were just having a bit of a banter, a bit of a laugh at what's going on in the chat, and he said something. I said, bro, have you got to wake up and smell the coffee? What? I said, he goes, I like what Postecoglou's doing, and I love it, but I just don't know why people expect us to go and win. We can't compete with you guys. I said, hang on a minute. I went and had a look, right? And I screenshot it and sent it to him. In the Premier League era, Spurs have spent £1.94 billion on players. And to put that into context, right? Newcastle spent 1.4 billion, Arsenal 1.9, so you're slightly above them. Liverpool have spent 2.1 billion, Man United 2.3 billion. You've only, like, over 30 years, Man United, who are compared to you in size, have only spent £400 million more than you in 30 years. So this notion that Spurs don't spend money and are not part of the rich club, it's just a lie, which I'm not even saying he's lying. When I showed it to him, he was like, I didn't know that.
Who's this?
He's just a mate of mine, just a friend.
Oh,
I didn't know this. And I said, that's because everything you consume is Tottenham based. And of course, you guys are famed, like nice football, pretty football, exciting football, but we haven't got the money the big boys have got to win, so it's okay to be what we are. No, you're the 5th highest spenders in English football history. But in terms of the teams, listen, Chelsea spent 3.6 billion, Man City 2.8 billion. They're a fair way ahead of you. But Man United, Liverpool, and Arsenal, who have been exponentially more successful than you, we're all in the same ballpark as each other, really. So this notion that you guys don't spend, and this isn't a dig at you, is crazy. But because that's the way
I don't take it as a dig.
Because that's perpetuated in the Spurs fan base, they all have this. It's a myth of, yeah, but we shouldn't be expected to win. We're little Tottenham. You're not little Tottenham.
I don't see it that way.
You're super rich Tottenham. You're super rich Tottenham.
I don't see it that way, that we're poor little Spurs that shouldn't be winning. That look, I said this about Chelsea at the beginning of the season. This notion that you spent this much money, you should be winning. For me, there's half truths in it. But if you don't spend it well, it doesn't mean anything. And what Spurs have done for years and years and years, Spurs have spent money. I've always said that. My gripe with Daniel Levy has never been, oh my God, Daniel Levy doesn't put his hand in his pocket. Daniel Levy puts his hand in his pocket. My gripe has been that we've never actually implemented anything throughout a club in terms of directors of football, structure, allowing the managers to pick the players that they want, never going the extra mile. We've never run the club properly. So we keep spending money. It doesn't work. You sack someone. You spend some more money. It doesn't work. You sack someone. It's what Chelsea fans are wishing for now. Not all, but by the way, when I say Chelsea fans, Terry, you know what I mean? Some, right? Not all, right? You got those people that want Poch sacked. Cool. All right, Terry, we're going to sack Poch. After all that money's been spent in the summer and after 10 games. Then what? The new manager comes in. He's now got a squad of players that he didn't get. So he's going to be knocking on the owner's door going, sorry, in January, could I have this player, this player, this player, this player? All of a sudden now you've got more money being spent, another couple of 100 million spent in that window. And you've got players going, well, hang on, what formation are we playing now? What are we? Oh, hang on, I was in favour under him. I'm not under him. There's no continuity. It's almost where Man United are. There's no continuity. Look at the best teams. If you look at who are the best three teams in the country right now, Terry?
City, Arsenal, Tottenham.
It's not
Liverpool.
Liverpool.
No, you're talking.
I don't mean after 10 games. I mean, like, who are the?
Okay, yeah, Liverpool, yeah.
Okay, sorry. Why? Man City have had Pep Guardiola for 7 years with the same coaching staff. Yeah, all right, give or take when he loses them to win jobs. But I mean, like, the same director of football. It's all run the way Pep wants it, the way his director of football wants it. Yeah, all the players know the style of play. They all know the training. Everybody knows who runs the roost. Everybody knows what the training's going to be, the eating, everything, right? Consistency. Liverpool, Klopp, right? He's been there 8 years, I think. Everyone knows who's the boss. Everyone knows the style of play. Everyone knows what's expected from them. Yeah? Continuity. Even Arsenal creeping into that conversation. Arteta's been there, 4 or 5 years. All the other clubs that keep changing their managers, changing their directors of football every year, every 18 months, every 2 years. Fans can want it. They can want to sack these people. If you do not at some point implement all these things that give you continuity, you are going to be on this perpetual cycle of failing.
Yeah, mate, I understand completely. It's and everybody pulling in the same direction, but it's, as I say, like, fans not wanting trophies is such a weird concept to me. Not wanting that pressure, I judge my club based on it, and this is the irony. Whenever we come to arguing about which of our clubs is the biggest and the best, all we use is trophies. But in the contemporary times, in real moments, who's the best right now? People don't like the trophies being. Everyone wants context, and Pep's had more money to spend, so yes, he's won more than Klopp, but he don't count for as much because of this. Arsenal fans did it for 2 decades when it comes to Fergie versus Wenger. Oh, if we had as much money as you, then we'd have done this and we'd have done that. And it's like, at the end of the day, we've seen people spend huge money and fail. Just because you've got money doesn't guarantee you success. Otherwise, Pep Guardiola wouldn't be the Man City manager, because if the 2-3 guys that came before him were winning the way he is and dominating Europe the way he is, they wouldn't have gone to Pep. Maybe.
Terry, is everyone desperate? Is everyone desperate who doesn't support Man City for Pep Guardiola to leave Man City?
Yes.
Why?
They're
still going to have money, so why are they desperate? They're still going to have fun.
Exactly.
So why are they desperate?
Exactly. It's him. We're all desperate for it, like 110%, of course.
Continuity.
Someone says, Terry, that's actually false. Now, listen, I'm not saying they wouldn't have gone for Pep in the end, but if if Pellegrini had won the Champions League and was dominating English football the way Pep is, I don't know if they'd have replaced him. But it was because what you were doing before Pep is you'd win a league and then not win a league. You were in sometimes in title races, sometimes in top 4 races, sometimes doing well in Europe, sometimes not doing well in Europe. You weren't inconsistent from a top 4 point of view, but you were inconsistent in terms of challenging for the major 2 trophies. Pep changed that for you. The point is, though, if you were consistent in those areas, you may not have broke what, the adage of you wouldn't fix what isn't broken. There may not have been the necessity to go for him at that point. Maybe you would have done, but a lot of people, if things are almost perfect, the idea of changing that to try and make it even better is difficult. So yeah, maybe you would have got him, but maybe it would have been later on down the line.
Can I give you a couple of examples really quickly? Really quickly. Man United dominant 20 years or whatever under Ferguson. Look what's happened since. Arsenal under Wenger. Look what's happened since. The only team I think that break that mold, the only team that have broken that mold for me in the last 20 years has been Chelsea, because Chelsea had such a world-class squad that you could sack Joe. I'm not saying in this order. You could sack Jose. You could bring in Ancelotti and go on then, ready-made, go, win. And they could win. Problem is now everyone's got money. So you can't just do that. If Chelsea sack Poch now, who are you bringing in that's going to suddenly go, right, we're winning in year 1? It's changed.
No, I understand that, but this is the thing. There's a comment here that says Terry's logic: put Pep as Everton manager if they win the treble. But that isn't what I said. So there's two things to that. One, Everton have spent the best part of 900 million since Pep's been in England. So if you gave him 900 million at Everton, he'd done a hell of a lot better at spending that money and getting them into being a competitive team. Secondly, Pep's at Man City because of what he's achieved prior.
Right.
So he is in. Right now, in contemporary 2023 football, City is the pinnacle in terms of where you want to be, or probably along with Barca and Real Madrid. But he's never going to be the Real Madrid manager because of his connections and his upbringing surrounding Barcelona. So the only other place he can go right now, which is at the top of the mountain, is Man City. Why is Pep the guy that was their number 1 choice? Because he was the best manager in the world, so he was offered the best job. He hasn't woke up in the morning and just been given that opportunity. You could argue to a degree, he didn't even get, that wasn't even what happened at Barcelona. Do your research on how and what he was doing at the club to get into the position to be made the manager. Pep has earned where he is through his not just continued success, but the anomaly with Pep is that he started his managerial career at one of the biggest clubs in the world and has not stopped winning since. Most other managers took a while to get to that level or hit that level for a while and then dipped off 5-10 years later. This man started at that level in 2008, and for the last 15 years has maintained it. The man is a phenom. That is why he's at in the job that he's in. Now, of course, if he was at Everton, would he have won as much in England as he's won at Man City? No. But give him £900 million to spend at Everton, and I guarantee you in this last 7 or 8 years, Pep's won at least 1 Premier League with that with building the team that he would have built with £900 million at Everton. 100% he'd have done that, my friend. 100%.
Do you know the funny thing? Whenever people say, I love this whole argument. Like, oh, what if Pep went to a Villa? What if he went to the problem is that's like saying, what if an Erling Haaland joins Southampton? Like, why would they? Like, why would the best not be at the best? Like, do you know what I mean? He's there because he's the best. If he hands in his notice today, every club in world football, right, every club in world football is going to go, Jesus, Pep's available. Are we happy with our manager? Do you know what I mean? Like, hang on a week.
Of course. Right? If Pep leaves tomorrow, everybody's interested because there is nobody at the moment, barring Bayern Munich in their country, who are dominating how Man City are. No one is dominating like Man City are in a competitive league with multiple rich clubs that have pull. So everyone's interested in him. But this is an interesting comment from Twitter. It says, Terry, no manager tried to copy Fergie. Why? Well, there's 2 layers to Fergie. No one has tried to copy the way in which he managed the club, because that style of management, in terms of being the head coach and managing the actual football club, during Fergie's time changed. And clubs stopped doing that, and they went to having a head coach and a director of football or a sporting director. So clubs are not running that way anymore. Go back in time, and I know you're quite an old man, Twisted, like 50s or something like that. You'll remember that's how lots of clubs were run. In terms of copying Fergie, what rotation of your squad was an invention of Sir Alex Ferguson. So rotating your team is something that was innovated by Sir Alex Ferguson. Another thing that Sir Alex, and this is the thing about generations. Every generation can innovate something different, but the new innovations wouldn't exist without the previous one. So if you look at the car, I watched a bit of Joe Rogan and Elon Musk on X last night. You see that new truck that he's invented, which is like a bulletproof car. It's like bulletproof. It's crazy. This thing's made of steel, still goes from 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. That I'm paraphrasing Elon Musk here. That wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Henry Ford. That wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the people that originally started, not just the design of cars, but the manufacture of cars. And then every generation innovates in a different way. So the cars now are much better than they were 100 years ago, but the cars now wouldn't exist without those cars from 100 years ago. Music is the same. Cooking is the same. That's how it works. So when Fergie came in and helped to eradicate the drinking culture, you get a lot of people that say, oh, but Wenger, the diet's that Wenger sorted. Yeah. Do you think Wenger could have fixed the diet in this country if Fergie hadn't fixed the alcoholism? And do you think that if the alcoholism and the food element wasn't taken care of? And by the way, who brought sports science into English football? Sam Allardyce was the guy. But you'd never have got sports science in if the diet element and the drinking habits hadn't been taken away from the majority of the game. So, of course, Pepper's come in and changed things that we now see in the contemporary sense. That's because we're forgetting about what the people 20, 30, 50, 60 years ago innovated and brought in that have allowed Pep to do it. And this is the one thing about every generation. We stand upon the shoulders of giants, and we should innovate and we should improve. And if you ask Pep, and he spoke about this, he's like, well, I only copied Johan Cruyff. He says it. I only copied Fergie. I only copied Johan Cruyff. And then they adapt and they make something new. And if somebody in another 20, 30 years, when Pep's retired, will change something and it'll be like, wow. And the new generation will be like, what? This is the greatest manager ever because he's innovated. And it's only the older heads will go, yeah, but what about these innovations that came before it? So to say that nobody has tried to copy Fergie or he hasn't been, he wasn't an innovator within the game is grossly untrue. It really, really is. Sorry for the history lesson, but it just had to be spoken about. It just had to be spoken about. Let's go to some more super chats here. This one says, hi from the States. Big up, gents. You both have an objective view, which I think is key. As an Arsenal fan, I love the show. Happy birthday, Sav.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. This is from Jason, who says, Sav talking about must win a trophy. Arteta already has 200% more trophies since being at Arsenal than Spurs ain't won a thing in like 2 decades. Come on, you gooners.
Am I allowed to respond to that nice and calmly?
Of course.
I'll tell you what I find funny about this. This is the sort of comment I expect, because me talking about Arteta's need to win trophies is, if anything, is a compliment to what he's doing at Arsenal. They always come back with Spurs ain't won trophy. Yeah, of course. Hence why I don't like the owners. I don't think Spurs have been a mess. Spurs have been an absolute mess. When a rival fan says something about your club, it doesn't necessarily mean they think the opposite of their own club. We've got to stop that within football rivalries. It's really silly. Like, oh, Spurs haven't won. Of course they haven't.
Well, at least in the discourse. Yeah. Sav saying Arsenal's team needs to win isn't him deflecting from Tottenham needing to win. It's a separate conversation. Mate, it's a separate conversation. You get it all the time. Like, let's say Chelsea are bad tonight. Like, oh, Chelsea were poor. Yeah, but look how bad Man United have been. That doesn't make Chelsea
the two things are aligned.
Yeah, well, what I'm not saying is, look how bad Chelsea were. My team are great. That wasn't the sentiment. But I hear you, Jace. I appreciate the super chat, bro. And I don't think Sav was knocking you guys. 100% Arsenal is win now, or you have to question the need to be asked. I love what Arteta has done, but it's time for this team to bring home prizes. I think you're spot on there, Trouble Studio. This is from Luke. He says, this is definitely a must-win for us, Arsenal. We need some silverware. We gave up on them last year to focus on the title to come up short. We have to do well. Arteta will raise eyebrows if we don't. Listen, I'm friends with Robbie, and I'm friends with the guys from AFTV. I've got no personal issue with them. But what they did last year with the whole bigger fish to fry thing, I get it, by the way. It's a deflection tactic from being annoyed at your team losing. We all have done it. Maybe you'll not use those words, but bigger fish to fry, or it's only the League Cup, Mickey Mouse Trophy. It doesn't mean much. When our rivals win it, we play it down and go, how dare you celebrate that? It means nothing. It's all a deflection tactic. Winning trophies is what we're here for. A must-win. City being out, we've got to try and win it, is what Gunnar Paul says. But there we go. If United sacks Erik ten Hag, he will be the next Chelsea manager. I don't see them sacking Poch just yet, but can you imagine?
I can't imagine that. I mean, if Chelsea sacked Poch and brought in Ten Hag, who's had a nightmare at United, their owners have lost the plot more than we thought.
Mate, you could be right. Have a great day. First sip is on me. Happy birthday, Sava, is what Kuhl says here. Yeah, happy birthday. Harold, do you mind divulging your age, what you turned?
Me? Yeah, I'm 41 today.
Oh, you're at 41. You look good for 40. No grey as well, bro. That's good. It's good. No grey.
Yeah.
It's that clean living. It's that clean living. Do you know what I
mean? Clean living. Yeah. And switching off YouTube every now and then and having a sleep. Yeah.
Terry, what does prioritizing mean to you? Depends in what context. It's a very open-ended question. I think that, of course, you're going to prioritize. If you're in all four competitions and in the space of a week, you've got a League Cup semi-final, a massive Premier League game away against Man City, and then you've got a Champions League knockout game, and you've got to rotate. You would probably make sure the Champions League and Premier League games got your strongest possible team. But what you wouldn't want to see in that semi-final of a League Cup, and this is a very specific example because your question's so vague, it's hard to answer without a bit of specificity. But in that League Cup semi-final, you wouldn't expect to see 5 or 6 players appear that haven't kicked the ball all season. You would still expect a team that's played football, strong players on the bench and giving it a go. And I think if you start putting in the message of, we can't play all these games, it's going to kill us, you start planting that seed of doubt or fatigue into your team, which can kill them. We've seen, I know they didn't win the quadruple in the end, but Liverpool didn't fail to win it because their legs ran out. They failed to win it just because in the end, City were just too good to catch. And they went up against one of the greatest teams in the Champions League final. You ever like one of the greatest teams that Champions League football's ever seen, and they narrowly missed out. And listen, if Courtois hadn't have had a man of the match performance, Liverpool win 3 trophies that year. If Villa didn't collapse, they win the treble. So it had nothing to do with fatigue. So yeah, the fatigue element is just an excuse, I think, when teams start losing. The big inventors are forgotten, Kanye West. Not all of them, but I mean, the fact that Elon Musk calls his car Tesla is literally homage to the inventor of I'm assuming that's electricity. I'm about to say that and then shit myself that I could be wrong. He must have been one of the innovators of electricity. If he's electric cars, that's me being really, I'm a moron. But there we go. Chelsea bring in Ten Hag. He will buy them back Havertz and Mount. Ha ha ha. Chelsea has a much better structure than United, and I could see Ten Hag being successful there, sadly, if he got fired. It's an interesting take. Do you see that?
I can't see that the Chelsea fans in any way, shape or form would go, oh, yeah, Ten Hag, that's who we want after watching what's going on at Man U. I can't see it at all. But look, both of them are in a job at the moment, so we'll never know.
Let's go to some more of these comments here. If Arsenal be in the finals of the EFL Cup, semi-finals of the Champions League, and a title race, but end till the end, but couldn't finish all, should Arteta be kept or sacked?
I think if you're getting to that stage, if you're saying deep in the Champions League in a title race, then yeah, you keep him because there's no reason to sack him. I think from speaking to Arsenal fans who I'm friends with, they were really disappointed actually that they went out of the cups last year. I think who did they went out to? I think one was City, and then they went out to, was it Sporting? I want to say maybe Sporting Lisbon in the Europa League, and then obviously they dropped away towards the end of the season. But listen, I think that's the thing, you've got to be getting there. Going out tonight would be disaster for Arsenal, and people might think that's pot kettle black because I don't think it's a disaster for City because City literally do win the other things. City win the big ones. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So if City don't win a League Cup, their fans aren't going, oh, we haven't won for ages. They're going, oh, well, we won a Champions League 3 months ago. So, different stories.
Yeah,
But
it's a bit more of it's less vague than some other questions, but still you have to look at it. Who they play in the EFL Cup final. So if they lose to a Birmingham level team again,
right, yeah.
That's a problem. They get. I don't even know what sport they get. Middlesbrough in the final and lose. That's a problem. They get Liverpool and lose in a brilliant 2-1. Maybe not. Champions League semi-final. If they have Man City and narrowly get beat, then no. But if they've got who's a small team, if they get Benfica in the semi-final and get battered 4-1 on aggregate, maybe yes.
It's all context, man.
If you're in the title race, if you're in the title race and clear by 8 points with 4 games to go and lose it, yes. If you're in the title race and get 98 points and finish 1 point behind City, you win it, then probably not. And then again, you add all those things together, you've got to contextualize it. But yeah, if he doesn't win, he has to be looked at. But looking at it is contextualizing what actually went wrong. If he's so there's multiple. It's hard to answer a yes or no. But yeah, if he fails to win anything, he must be questioned. This is an interesting comment. Harry Kane is the best striker in Premier League history. Terry, why do you hate Spurs and Harry Kane? That's from a Chelsea fan, which is interesting. Don't hate Spurs at all. My bugbear with Tottenham last year was twofold. First one was I had Spurs fans bantering my club about not winning trophies, and it felt weird. It just felt very strange because that is something where you can say, but your club don't win. When you're laughing at my club for not winning trophies, it was very strange. It wasn't your club's in a really bad state at the minute, Terry. What can you do to improve it? Ha, you're not winning trophies. That's weird. The second reason I kind of fell out with Spurs yesterday wasn't a reason for actually falling out with Spurs. I had a Spurs fan that was on the internet trying to get everyone to boycott me because I predicted Arsenal to finish above them in the league, which is weird because everything I said was right. Spurs weren't good last year and Arsenal were. Do I hate Harry Kane? No, I love Harry Kane. I've been pleading with him to leave Tottenham for years because I want to see him win the major trophies, and I don't believe Spurs will deliver that with or without him. So that's been my reason for wanting him to push for a move away from Spurs because I want him to win those major trophies. So that's not hate, that's respect. But I believe that the greats of football have the major trophies. I can't think of a football great that we all look at and go, he's a great. And he sits on that table with Pele and Maradona and Ronaldinho and all these guys who doesn't have major trophies. I can't think of one. I genuinely can't think of one. So
listen, look, I said it for years. I said it for years about Harry Kane. I always ask the question to my chats. Said, can anyone name me a player as good as Harry Kane that's never won a trophy?
No one. I don't think anyone can do it.
And as close as people could come was the likes of, I think it was like the likes of Di Natale, Letitia. You know, but like there was no. You get what I'm saying? There was no top player that you went, wow, how did he never win a trophy? So for me, you've got it at some point. And look, Kane's time ran its course. If I was Kane, I would have handed in a transfer request a long time ago. But I also wasn't worried about him leaving. So whatever he's doing, good luck to him. It's not my issue anymore.
It's very true. People are writing Zlatan. Zlatan won multiple league titles. Multiple league titles, multiple domestic trophies. He has won. League titles are big trophies. Yes, he didn't win the Champions League, but again, R9 never won the Champions League. So lots of great players haven't won that, but they've won at least league titles that they were influential in, or Champions Leagues. And I agree. I can't think of any great that we look at as a legend of football, a great of the game, who hasn't won a major trophy. That's been my sole reasoning for wanting Kane to leave. And it's never been it's because I think his talent deserves to dine with those people. And I think if he's on course right now he might not do it. If he keeps scoring at this rate, he's going to break the single season goal scoring record in the Bundesliga. If he does that and wins a Bundesliga and picks up a Champions League, then he moves into a different category of player. And it's only once he wins those things and there's those immortalizing pictures of those goals and of him with the trophies that I think certain Spurs fans who have hated on me for saying I think he has to leave, they'll get what I mean. By those goals and those moments, we will be remembered far more globally. Listen, there's a few moments in the Spurs shirt that Premier League fans will remember. There's hundreds you'll remember. But will some football fan who supports Barcelona in Singapore remember it in 20 years' time? No. But will he remember a record-breaking campaign that leads to a league and Champions League double? Yes, probably.
Look, do you know, this is what I've always said about Harry Kane. Is Harry Kane one of the best strikers I've ever seen? Yeah, and his goal record proves that. For me, the problem with that is in massive moments, I needed to see Kane step up. And this isn't just Kane. I talk about this about, you know, we're in this era too where everyone's world class. Everyone wants everyone to be world class.
Yeah.
But then in the big games, when I ask, well, where was that player? Oh, they can't do it every game. Yeah, but the world class players, this is what they're made for. World class is built. Like world class is built into you. It's ingrained into you. You make those moments. Yeah, there's been many a moment where, like, you look at Didier Drogba. Now, people might go, was he world class a footballer? Every big game, Didier Drogba woke up that day and chose that he was going to turn up. Every day, this is me. This is my setting. This is my house. I'm going to do well, right? The thing with Kane is, I put Son in this bracket as well. Is in those massive games, in the semi-finals, in the finals. That's where I need to see it. That's where, even if the club weren't playing well in the final, you've got there for a reason, right? It can't be, we're playing better teams. You're in a final. You're in a semi. You're in a final. You've got there through merit. I needed to see that one moment where Spurs weren't playing well and Kane took it upon himself to go, you know what? I'm going to produce something here. That's my only gripe with him. He's one of the best natural finishers I've ever seen. But you've got to have that moment. You've got to have that moment in your career. And as far as I can remember, has he done it for England in those big moments? No. Has he done it for Spurs in those big moments? No. Now he's got to go and deliver that for Bayern in the big moments. That where you've got to deliver it in a cup final, in a Champions League semi. That's what he's got to do. So for me, you've got to call fair's fair. Great striker, clinical finisher. Anyone would have him in their team. But to date, because he's still playing, his career's not finished. To date, he's not quite done that bit to get over the line. Is that fair? I feel like that's...
Yeah, I don't think you're wrong. I wanted to ask you about another thing that's raged, that sort of created a lot of debate recently, has been, in the last couple of days, has been Messi winning his 8th Ballon d'Or. Do you believe it was deserved, or, you know, a lot of City fans are upset. They think it should have been, Haaland that won it, or KDB. Some people think that Mbappe. But what was your take on Lionel Messi winning his 8th Ballon d'Or?
Yeah. I think that it was definitely, I don't think Mbappe's in the question, if I'm brutally honest. I think the question is between Haaland and Lionel Messi. Look, Lionel Messi, is he the greatest footballer on the planet even to this day? Yes. No one can do the things of a football this man can do, even at his age. And I think what makes it stand out between him and Haaland, look, either of them could have got it, and I don't think anyone could have complained. But I think what made him get it is going into that World Cup, Terry, everyone was saying, the guy's finished. The guy's dead. He's not top anymore. He's gone to a Farmers League. He can't do it anymore, right? He's not competing at the top level. He went to a World Cup, and I don't want to say he dragged them there, but I think he completely more than dragged them there. I think without Lionel Messi, that Argentina team for me doesn't even make it out the group. That guy was sensational. At the age of 35, 36, decided, I'm not even a forward in this tournament. I'm going to drop into midfield and I'm going to run every game. I'm still going to score more goals than anyone else other than Mbappe. I'm going to assist more than anyone else. I'm going to get more man of the matches than anyone else. And what was wonderful to see was, again, big moments. What we just talked about with Kane, the big moments. Yeah, in the semi, the quarters, the final. Lionel Messi stood up and went, this is my stage. I'm the best. Listen, I'm not knocking Mbappe. Mbappe in that final as well. Him and Messi, for me, what I loved was that everyone billed it Mbappe versus Messi, and they both lived up to it.
They both turned up. Yeah, it was great.
That,
yeah.
But at the same time, now the counter argument for that, right? So you can see why Messi did that. Equally, Messi's stats last year were absolutely phenomenal. People are saying they weren't. His stats were phenomenal. And remember,
yeah.
I know what you're going to say.
At Messi's peak, it was bad, but compared to everybody else, it was still amazing. Yeah, of course, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you look at the flip side and you go, okay, well, hang on. We've got a guy here that's an absolute goal machine. We've got a guy here that has scored. Didn't he get something like 56 goals in all competitions last year? Someone will tell me if I'm
Something
wrong.
crazy like that. Yeah.
Who's won a treble? He's won it all. He's won the Premier League. He's won the FA Cup. He's won the Champions League. And you say, well, how can a guy score that many goals and not win it? I suppose it breaks down to what are you looking for? For me, that World Cup with Messi's stature, with his age, was always going to, if he won that World Cup, it was always going to result in the Ballon d'Or. It was always going to result in it. And it wasn't just that Argentina won it, Terry. He won it. He won it. Listen, Alvarez got a couple of goals. Yeah, I'm not saying there weren't other good players, but
no,
this
guy I agree. If Messi had a poor World Cup, I'd have advocated for Haaland because one, Haaland's goal scoring records in a harder league, winning the treble, winning the Prem is harder than winning the French league, in my opinion. They won the Champions League, which Messi was also in, and PSG, they didn't come close. But the World Cup and the performances there from Lionel Messi were just, I was there, I witnessed it. I was there, saw it. I was in the media center. I was amongst the people, the public, I was amongst, around a lot of RGs out there, and the feeling. And this is the thing about these awards and greatness and the legendary status. This is why I say to people, it's not just about how many goals you score or winning games or eye test. It's those moments you deliver for people. And he delivered so many in that tournament. He was integral in them winning it. I think Haaland would have had more of a chance. I mean, he came second, so he had a good chance. If he would have been the guy that scored, if he would have scored that brace against United in that FA Cup final, if he would have been the guy that scored a screamer from outside the box to win the Champions League, I think maybe he could have pipped it, because it's those performances in those semi-finals and finals of Lionel Messi at the World Cup, which I think have tipped the balance. They both got loads of GA. They both won a number of domestic trophies or trophies for their clubs. But there was it was almost like the World Cup versus the Champions League. The World Cup versus the final versus the FA Cup and Champions League final. And Messi in those semi-finals and finals pipped him, did him, and was the guy that stepped up and ultimately delivered those trophies for his nation. And listen, it'd been years since Argentina had won it. He completed football, Lionel Messi. And I had to admit, live on the air in a room, because the way it worked over in Qatar is that every time a team got knocked out, YouTubers were fine. But basically, like if you were with an English newspaper, as soon as England went out, they didn't quite cut all your access to things. But unless you were with one of the major broadcasters, so ITV or the BBC, you got very little access to anything because you're like, well, you don't need to be here anymore. Your country's out. As YouTubers, we got the say. And we're basically in this media center, and it was just predominantly Argentinians, predominantly. I just sit there and stream in front of them all and say, I have to admit now that Messi is the GOAT and not Ronaldo, because he completed football. And I held my hands up and said, look, what he done was amazing. So I think he deserved it. When you look at the criteria, personal performances, you got to remember this, ability is not a factor. So anyone that goes, you've got to win it on ability, their opinion counts for nothing, because that is not a judging factor. Individual performance, trophies that were won, and then it goes down to fair play and discipline. So Messi did deserve it for me. When you look at everything, I kind of get a lot of the people that barring City fans who want I think a lot of people that are angry he won it are Ronaldo fanboys, because it's not only is he's 3 clear of him on that Ballon d'Or level now, and I think it hurts them. It's stuck in the back of their throat, So I think that's what it boils down to. I really do.
Can we just say, right? Let's just call it what it is as well. What's the pinnacle of football?
The World Cup.
The World Cup, right? The World Cup has always been the pinnacle of football. Whether people like it or not, the pinnacle is football, right? Lionel Messi. Look, whoever wins a Ballon d'Or every year, people are going to complain. That's life. People are going to complain.
Yeah.
Next year, it could be Haaland versus Bellingham versus Mbappe. Bellingham wins it, and you're going to have 50% of the people going, yeah, he definitely deserved it. And the other 50% going, oh, but why? Because so-and-so won this and one. That's life. You're never going to please everyone. Lionel Messi, for me, without the World Cup, doesn't win it. Of course he doesn't. But to go on to the world's biggest stage at his age as well, you've got to remember that. At that age, to go onto that biggest stage and win Argentina the World Cup as captain, winning player of the tournament, and did he get the most goals and assists combined? Whatever, I don't know, whatever it was. Look, I've never, ever, ever seen a footballer like Lionel Messi in my life. I've said it many a time, Terry. Hard for me to say this, but I don't think we're ever going to see a footballer as complete as Lionel Messi ever again. I don't
agree.
think they're built like that anymore. And you just knew as soon as he won that World Cup, you just knew it was gearing up to it throughout the group when they won it, because they lost the first game, right?
Yeah,
it was geared up to him winning it. So
yeah, it was magical. It really was. There's some super chats here that says, "Who is the clutchest player of all time?" In my opinion, Cristiano Ronaldo. I think Ronaldo and Messi are both in that category. Drogba's name will be in there, but I do think Messi and Ronaldo have done it more regularly than him. But those three stand out to me. Listen, as a Man United fan, this is not the amount of times he did it, but I'm always going to say Ole Gunnar Solskjaer just for what he did, helping us win that treble. But yeah, there's a lot of names. Between RVP and Kane, who would you take?
I mean, first of all, they're very, very different footballers. I mean, if I want someone to finish their dinner 9-10 times out of 10, I want Harry Kane. If I want a bit of guile and a bit of flair and somebody to add that je ne sais quoi, I want RVP. I'll put it out there. Imagine these two together. I'll change the question. Imagine that as a strike partnership.
And they can play together, and they can definitely play together as well. I mean, as you say, a guarantee of winning things. I've seen him deliver to win things. RVP. Fitness-wise, though, I'd go Kane because he's much more readily available than RVP was. But I love them both, mate. Yeah, it's a great super chat. It was a nostalgia-based win. If Messi hadn't had his previous career, he wouldn't have won the Ballon d'Or when it should have only been based on the season. But listen, Charlie, where I disagree, if Alvarez last year had got 57 odd GA in all comps, been the pivotal player in winning 3 trophies for City, and then been the pivotal player in every round of the World Cup, scored in every round of the World Cup and helped them win it, I think Alvarez might have won it. He just would have done. I think he would have done, Charlie. Or Charles.
What I do find funny is whenever there's a conversation about Messi, like let's put Ronaldo in there. Messi and Ronaldo are the 2 greatest footballers that this world has seen for 20 years, right? Bar none. I don't care. People can chuck into that, bar none, right? But yet, we're doing what we do in life. People are finding ways to knock Lionel Messi over and over and over again. I don't know how you can watch such greatness and try and find negatives. This guy is... I've never in my lifetime seen anyone... I've never seen anyone as 50% as good as Lionel Messi.
Do you know what's interesting for me? But we do that. We do it with other players. Listen, I've always said this. I know Messi's the better player, but the favorite of my 2 is still Ronaldo, and some of that is personal for what he did for Man United.
Sure.
But I don't think there's really a fault with either. I think they are both phenoms, and I think the one thing about their debate, which has always been jarring for me, is the way both sides of the coin try to play the other player down and find fault with them.
Right.
And
so annoying.
That's been, yeah. And Ronaldo probably gets more of it than Messi. And it's always annoying. Like people that, he just, me and Lee have had this debate many times. Ronaldo just became a tap-in merchant. And it's like, listen, if you ignore what he did in the first 10 to 12 years of his career, you're a madman. I've actually had people say he weren't even that good at dribbling. It was like, do one. This super chat here says, if Arteta doesn't win a trophy this season and he's sacked, it would be incredibly stupid. He would be snapped up and would be left at square one, is what Charles Allison thinks here. I do agree with it from the perspective of it depends who you bring in. Is there a better manager with a similar philosophy on football that could work instantly with these players? If you don't do that, then you could be in trouble. If you suddenly brought in Angola, remember when you guys got rid of Poch and you went down that Jose Conte route where it was like negative football for a while and it didn't work? If you'd have gone from a Poch to someone like a Postecoglou straight away, I think you guys would have carried on progressing. It was because you changed. So there's an element of truth to that, Charles. But if you get a better manager in, maybe not. Bin individual awards. How to compare Alisson versus Leo. Why can't Ruben Diaz win the Ballon d'Or? He's doing his job the best. He's not the tennis. Do you know what I would say about this? Is this though? And I mean, this is a general rule. Generally, the better you are, the higher up the pitch you play as a footballer. Generally, the better overall footballer you are. Because let's just take a player like Paul Scholes. We know as a central midfielder, one of the best. But if he had all those skills, but he could score like Kane, they wouldn't have played him in midfield. He'd have been a striker. So if you've got that ability to score goals and create, no matter how good you are at the other things, you're moved up there. You could be the best defender in the world. You could be 10 times better than Maldini. But if you're also as good as R9 at scoring, you're not going to be a defender. So I get your point, but as a general rule, the higher up the pitch you go, the better the footballers get.
Yeah, I think it's difficult, right? The problem is when you've got forwards and forwards, wide forwards, whatever you want to call them, when they've got so many goals, so many assists, it speaks volumes. And it's then harder to listen. I get it. I get the sentiment. Why don't more centre backs, centre mids win this thing? Unfortunately for me, though, I'll be honest, for the last 16, 17 years, you literally could every year just pick your choice between Messi and Ronaldo because they've been, no one can touch them. The thing is, people are now in the conversation that Messi is 36. Modric is the anomaly in all this, but Modric, by the way, wow, what a footballer.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Other than Modric, every year you could just go him or him. But I suppose it depends on how much as an individual football fan you really care about it. Like for me, I don't care who wins the Ballon d'Or. I know Lionel Messi is the best player that I've ever seen. I don't need, as a fan, to see him win the Ballon d'Or for that to be justified. But it is what it is. Whoever wins it, people are going to complain.
Yeah.
Whoever loses it, people will put their case forward.
I completely agree. What I love is this. I said what I said a second ago, and Ron says, facts tell, you saw it with Bow. The very next comment is shocking take, Terry. Yeah. But I don't think it is a shocking take. And I said a general rule. And what I mean by that is just because you're a good goal scorer doesn't mean you should win the Ballon d'Or. Because someone like an Inzaghi was never the best player in the world, no matter how good he was at finishing. My point to you is, if you're somebody who is amazing with the ball like Mudryk, but you score like Inzaghi, you're playing further up the pitch. That's they are not going to sacrifice football clubs are not going to sacrifice your goal scoring ability to have you control a midfield, because generally speaking, there are more midfielders available in the world to control a midfield than there are strikers and attackers that create and score at a higher rate. They're a more finite product, which is why they cost more money, generally speaking. I want to thank everyone that's tuned in today. We had another super chat actually that says this from Terry Tibbs. Messi is quality, but for me, Ronaldo's still the GOAT. Messi should have won the World Cup well more than that Argentina time. Imagine CR7, he wins it all. Listen.
I'm sorry. Can I just say sorry? I think that this is the difference between the two. For me, listen, I don't need to put one down to think the other one's brilliant. I've hated when people do that. For me, the reason why I think Messi is head and shoulders above Ronaldo is what we saw Messi do in that World Cup. What we've seen him do later on in his career is drop into midfield and dictate games, right? With that passing ability. Ronaldo's not that guy. Ronaldo's one of the greatest strikers of all time. One of the greatest goal scorers of all time. You don't see Ronaldo dropping into midfield and dictating games the way Lionel Messi can. And for me, that's the difference between the two.
Yeah.
Ronaldo's played for a wonderful Portugal side that in these World Cups, he's done nothing in World Cups. He hasn't. I believe it was something like, was it one goal?
Yeah, he's got a limited amount of goals in the knockout stage. I totally agree. And we'll definitely be able to pick this conversation up on another day. There's no doubt. Look, viewers, please hit the like button before you leave. I've got an appointment I've got to shoot to, so I do need to end the stream now. But Sav, always a pleasure to speak. Happy birthday to you again. Thank you to all of the super chatters and all of the viewers. It means a great deal. We're live tonight. I know there's kickoff times are mad, but we are live after the Carabao Cup games tonight. So please make sure you are tuning in. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again.